Hello everyone, welcome back to another GMME video. Today we're going to be going through standard form. So we're going to be showing you what standard form actually is, some examples of it, and then finally some calculations with it. So starting off, why do we even need standard form and what even is it? So if I told you to write 5 billion for me, you'd write this number below. But then if I said to you, write 5 billion for me, and then times it by another few billion, take away another few billion, divide another billion or a million or something like that, you'd get quite angry by writing all of them zeros out. So you'd be there forever just writing zeros after zeros and it could get confusing. So all it does is it just brings it to a smaller number. So if I show you this now, there's the 5 billion and we say, please write it in standard form. You would find the first number that is not a zero, which there it is, there's the 5. You would then count how many places you move the decimal. So the decimal's all the way here on the right. So we're going to be moving it to the left. So we're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and finally 9 places along. And then the last step says times the first number by 10 to the power of n. So the first number is a 5, times it by 10 to the power of 9, which is the number of places that we moved. A quick life hack is you can double check by just counting the zeros. So if you just look at this number and you want to do it in your head really quick, you can see the first number's a 5 and then you can count the zeros, so there's 9 zeros there. So it'll be 5 times 10 to the power of 9. Let's go the other way now. So let's work out how to write this in standard form but on the right. So find the first number is not a 0. There it is, it's a 3. And then count how many places you move the decimal. So now the decimal is starting here now, and we're moving to the right. So there's 1, and there's 2, and there's 3. So it would be 3.45, because remember there's numbers after this one now, times by 10 to the minus 3. So minus as we were moving to the right. I'll show you an example now of when to put a minus and when to put a plus. So 5 million, we moved the decimal place to the left, which gives you 5 times 10 to the positive 9. There you go, to the left is positive. And then here we went to the right, which was minus 3. So when you go to the right, it's a minus. That's why I usually don't suggest counting zeros, as it can sometimes get a bit confusing with the signs, but it is a good way to double check. Now, how do we multiply them? So, quite simple steps. You just multiply the big numbers, which I've put in blue. You then add the powers, and then you write it and simplify. So let's break this down. Step 1. You multiply the big numbers. So 5 times by 3.45, you get 17.25. You can round and estimate if needed. So for now, we're just going to be using the full number. But if you wanted to change that to 5 times 3, you could. Going to be adding the powers now. So I'm going to write down 10 to the 9 and then 10 to the minus 3, which if you do 9 take away 3, gives you 10 to the 6. And then finally, simplify it and write it down. You get 17.25 times by 10 to the 6. But if the clever ones of you will have noticed that 2 digits are there at the beginning, and that is not in standard form. So we can actually move the decimal place further to the left. So if we go here one more along, we can get 1.725, and we can add an extra number on the times 10 power. That's why I don't suggest counting zeros, because there's no zeros here, and it's useful to know that if you move to the left, you add to the power. So there you go, that's equal to that if you want to check on the calculator. Now, the same steps are basically there for dividing. You basically just divide the big numbers and then subtract the powers this time. Be careful with the subtracting of the powers. If you want to see an explanation of that, please check out the Q&A videos. There will be quite a few of the divides there. let's move on to how do you add them. So the steps are make the 10x the same, add the big numbers, then write it and simplify. So how do we actually make the 10x the same? We write out the number on the right here, see the smaller one to the 10 to the 4. So we have 2 times by 10 to the 4, and to make that into 10 to the 5, we of course need to move the decimal place to the left, that adds 1. So we end up with 0.2 times by 10 to the 5, and then finally you can just add the big numbers, 3.2, and then simplify it. This gives you 3.2 times by 10 to the 5. Adding versus subtracting, so exactly the same. You just make 10x the same, but this time subtract the big numbers instead of add them, and then write and simplify. Like previously, if you want to see one of these subtracts, please check out the Q&A videos. So that's everything. Well done for getting to the end. Bit of a recap. The first number is the first one that you move the decimal to. The plus or minus, if you move to the left, it's a plus. If you move to the right, it's a minus. And then the steps for timesing and dividing, and then the steps for adding and subtracting. Like I said before, if you need some more solutions and questions and answers, please check out the Q&A videos and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.